Oh, yeah. Good morning and welcome to Dateline New Haven. I'm your host, Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that make our community tick. Well, our community is not quite down and out. We're getting hit hard, but we're not folding. We're pressing on and moving forward. And today we have 4 people who are on the front lines in New Haven dealing with the cuts the federal government has made to help refugees, to help the hungry, and how the community's pulling together and working together to fight back. We got Ana Cardenas, the operations manager at IRIS, Integrated Refugee and Immigrant Services, which is sort of the nationally known hub in New Haven for helping people settle here when they're fleeing bad conditions in other countries. Wystan Sutherland, who's the executive director of the Community Soup Kitchen, one of our great long-standing social agencies in New Haven. Greg DePetris, who's a board chair of the Community Soup Kitchen, and Alder Caroline Tanby Smith, who's working with her neighbors on supporting groups that are trying to help people in the crosshairs. Welcome, everybody, and thank you so much for coming on here today.
Thank you.
We're going to start by talking about 2 news items, 2 things you guys are doing that are new that people should know about right now. One, Caroline is organizing neighbors in 30 volunteers in 3 days for IRIS, and IRIS and the Soup Kitchen have a new partnership to announce. Would you like to tell us about that?
Sure. Thanks for having us as well. It's a pleasure to be here and to be talking about some good things happening in the world right now. Community Soup Kitchen, as people may know, has been around for about 47 years. We've been providing meals to the hungry, and our mission statement is very simple. We feed the hungry no matter the circumstances, and what that means to us is that if you're hungry, we will feed you, no questions asked. And our goal is to do that as long as we can, for as many people as we can do it until the day that we're no longer needed to do that. And so my partner here, Wystan Sutherland, runs that operation for us, and Ana Cardenas is both an IRIS employee, but also has been a very valued volunteer at Community Soup Kitchen over the last 5 years or so, and joined the board earlier this year. And Ani, being on the ground and knowing what both organizations needed, was in a position to be able to connect needs with resources. And this partnership really comes out of her ability to be on the ground and help both organizations.
So what is the partnership? What's happening, and when does it start?
So it's been announced today. So as of April 1st, Community Soup Kitchen has taken over the lease on 5,000 square feet of warehouse space at 75 Hamilton Street, which for many years has been Iris's both a food pantry, but also a donation center. And given the current circumstances,
right, Iris's money's been cut by federal government. Yeah. They've had to pull back. Unfortunately, lay some people off. People they're supposed to come from other countries to resettle aren't coming, but there are people here who are supposed to be taken care of and are. Mm-hmm. So you're saying there's this building they used, you guys used at IRIS for food and donations. You no longer are going to be able to run it. So Community Soup Kitchen's coming in to run it. So is it basically going to be how it worked before, or is it going to change what it is?
Well, it's going to do what it did before and then some. So in our view, the food pantry, which serves over 650 families every week on Wednesdays, will continue to operate as it's always operated. It is a vital resource to that community. But in addition to that, Community Soup Kitchen is going to do what we do, which is provide hot meals on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays to the Fairhaven community in that area and anybody who can access that site.
So I'm trying to picture 75 Hamilton. So is it on Ives Place or near Chapel or near Grand? Which end of the street is that?
Okay. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
For having us. Before I get into that question, I have something to add to what Greg
If you wouldn't mind, please getting so close to the mic, you're almost touching it.
I'm not used to this. I'm sorry.
It's okay. No,
is this good?
It's perfect.
Okay. So, Iris Food Pantry, it not only serve our clients, like our refugee clients, but it also serve community clients. We started just serving Iris clients, and it started around 80 to 100 families per week. And since we changed to be open to the community, we have served around 600 and 650 families per week.
And
So
they don't eat there until we're going to change it now, right? So it's just where you come up and pick a bag of food for
that
the
is
week.
correct.
And what would you pick up, like groceries for a week? Would
Yes,
you canned goods, vegetables?
yes, and that is thanks to Connecticut Food Share, who is our provider, and it also provides food for CSN because we share that. And so they will come with a big truck on Tuesday. Then the volunteers, who are a huge part of this, because thanks to them, this place will run smoothly. We only have one amazing staff member who runs the food pantry. Her name is Johanna Snyder, and the rest is just volunteers coming every Tuesday and Wednesday. So Wednesday, it's when we distribute the food, and now we're gonna keep doing that on Wednesdays. And thanks to this partnership, we will be able to also work on Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, but different because it will be CSK distributing hot meals.
And will that be lunch, dinner, breakfast?
It'll be lunch from 12 to 2.
12 to 2. And so now I take it you didn't have the money for the lease anymore, correct?
That is correct.
So you guys are going to pay the lease.
Correct.
And in terms of Connecticut Food Share's gotten cutbacks, right? So their money was cut back. They still have enough to be able to give you guys all this?
Yes. Like we get Connecticut Food Shares does provide a lot of donations of food, but we have sub agencies that donate to us as well. That'll be a help to them.
What kind of agencies?
Like as far as Stop and Shop.
Oh, okay.
A Price Chopper. We have different entities,
and they're continued. They're obviously not relying on federal contracts,
right? Exactly.
And also, and we'll do this over throughout the show. Is there a big need for people to donate and volunteer? I mean, are the cutbacks affecting you yet? That you're going to need this?
I'll say so.
And how do people find you? Just Community Soup Kitchen online. There's a place they can find volunteer there.
CSKNewhaven.org.
CSKNewhaven.org.
You can register to volunteer or donate there. And I would say, one of the points to be made here is we are incredibly lucky to be 100% privately funded.
Oh, I didn't know that.
We don't have.
You don't get any government grants.
We don't.
Isn't it so funny that in today's day and age, the world just changes.
Mm-hmm.
We're lucky not to be government funded. There's actually one thing I've always felt about the independent, but still, I mean, that's really something to say now.
In our case, I think it's a testament to the history of CSK. It is truly a community-supported organization. We've got, our donor base is essentially kind of been the same donor base for over 30 years.
So you've nurtured it. And there are times when there's more need. Obviously, during the pandemic, I remember doing stories with Wilson Diggs and other people took it over. That is this a moment where people are opening their wallets more? Because I'm not feeling the same thing I felt in 2016. I'm not feeling the thing I felt when the pandemic hit, where everyone is aware that we have these crises happening that are affecting our most vulnerable people. But there's this kind of sense, okay, we're kind of bracing for a long-term fight, and people aren't just saying, I'm stopping everything I'm doing now and opening my wallet, volunteering more. But maybe I'm wrong about that. You guys are on the front lines, and actually Caroline's going to talk about that. Are you finding more donations? Are people stepping in as you're getting hit by these cutbacks?
I can speak for CSK. Maybe Ani can say something for Iris. For us, yeah, I mean, we're focused on all of the good things that are happening here, and it is the case. I mean, we're in a position to be able to do this exactly because people saw the opportunity to help and stepped in to do it. And I think our job is to continue serving that mission and providing them opportunities to get involved. And New Haven's food insecurity problem is significant, meaningful, and getting worse.
And are the numbers, the most recent numbers I've seen is that in some neighborhoods, it's up to a half of the families who are food insecure, defined by at least once a month, they're deciding between a meal and paying the rent. Is that correct? And that's city-wise, it's around a quarter. Is that about the right numbers? I mean, that's
quarter to a third.
That's devastating and really upsetting. and sad in the wealthy
Yeah, I mean,
country.
specifically, we can tell you, across the city, there's 16 discrete neighborhoods in New Haven. 11 of those neighborhoods have something north of a 25% poverty rate, which correlates highly with food insecurity. In our sort of estimation, based on data from New Haven as well as Connecticut Food Share, our view is that there's about 2.5 million meals each year that are going unserved to people who are food insecure.
Wow. And then, so one thing Maggie Salem said to me about this project, she says, this is about nonprofits recognizing the challenges we all face and finding ways to sustain operations, growing them, in this case with CSK, or working closer together. So maybe that contradicts the gloomy point I made, which was that, is this a moment when nonprofits are saying, we're going to work together even more? I mean, I think we've had a good record in New Haven. We used to have to think everyone was siloed, and everyone for years was saying the answer in New Haven is to have the nonprofits work together, not duplicate. Is this a moment? And is this decision a reflection of a decision to figure out new ways to work together and pool resources? Tell me about that.
I would say so. A lot of, lately, I'm gonna say like for the last, I'm gonna say over, before the pandemic, I'm gonna go there. A lot of the agencies were kind of operating, by themselves, like not really working together a lot, just maybe here and there. But since the pandemic hit, we've had a necessity to work together with different agencies and help them. We've been in a position to help people along the way any way we can, because we're not federally funded. A lot of these other organizations are. So this is like another example of, probably the biggest one to date, of being able to, get food to people in this, in this environment, in this, in the Fairhaven area, which is on our radar.
It's funny you
for
say
a while,
Fairhaven. I don't really think of that as Fairhaven. You're talking about Hamilton as sort of like Mill River between Wooster Square and the river.
Kind of like Fairhaven Heights or something.
No, people call it Mill River, or they call it used to be Wooster Square till the highway came through. But and now it's sort of like this. I guess it's called Mill River for development purposes, because it used to be a lot of factories that are being reborn as housing. So they got a lot of people living there, which is kind of interesting. Anyway, it doesn't matter.
Well, we got to get a little deeper into Fairhaven.
Yeah, Fairhaven is like, and so, and one thing, and how big is your budget?
Our annual budget is about $600,000, and about 93% of every dollar we spend goes directly to a meal program.
That doesn't sound large to me for all the work you do.
Well, we're on pace to serve 125,000 meals this year. So
Wow.
I think we take a lot of pride in being a very, very effective custodian.
I think that sounds really lean. Now, when you talk about working together, you also are on the board. So I'm wondering if part of what happens is organizations where people serve on each other's board. Is that where the idea came up? Were you at a board meeting and you said,
well, I have
we got
to
do
tell
this?
you, this was to me meant to be, because as Greg said, I am just new to the board. And when I was reading the documents for my first meeting with the board as a board member.
You read the documents. That's pretty good
Yes.
right there.
Well, I was new. Probably in a year I won't.
I'm going to
be
ask you in a
reading
year, but you don't
everything.
have to answer. We have the fifth.
Yeah.
You
So
complete
one
fifth.
of the things that were reflected in all those documents was this plan of having to close the gap and trying to have CSK multiple locations where they were able to distribute not only our main location, which is in Broadway, and at the same time, I was in a meeting at Iris, and they were thinking about closing the food pantry just because we didn't have the means to pay for the rent. And people kept talking, and I was like, okay, this cannot happen. And then at night, I was just wearing my friend hat, which it's something that I will always say to Greg, because I have to wear many hats with him.
So
Friend's
which hat was this you were wearing?
I'm sorry?
Which hat were you wearing that night?
Friend's hat.
Friends.
Because I didn't, yes. So I wear my Iris hat, I wear my CSK hat, and I wear my friend's hat. So I called him and I said, okay, I have something to ask you or some advice, and I'm wearing my friend's hat.
Friend mean like a friend?
A friend.
Friend.
Yes.
Yeah, amigo hat.
Yeah,
Okay.
friend. So he was like, okay, go ahead. And I was like, this is happening. And I was reading the documents. So I don't know if this is possible. Can we talk about this? And maybe we can talk about a partnership between Iris and CSK. And I have this place, which is amazing, which is 75 Hamilton Street. And then he was like, yes, I love this idea. Let's talk about it. So
Way to
then,
go.
yeah.
I guess that's an argument for also a true community board. How much is the rent on that?
It's all in cost to us will be about $4,000 a month.
Not just the rent.
Rent, utilities, and insurance.
And I want to get back this idea about close the gap, because you said there is a much bigger vision here. And you're listening to Dateline New Haven, WNHH-FM, New Haven's home for community radio at 103.5. We're talking about the way that New Haven is pulling together and not just throwing up our arms and say we're getting hit by a tornado of federal cutbacks and harshness from our federal government. We're going to pull together and take care of our own. And Caroline Tamby Smith, today, another thing happening today, April 1st, if I'm correct, you are launching a campaign you've been planning called 30 Volunteers in 3 days. First of all, is Tuesday the first day, and what is that?
Tuesday is the first day, yes. So the backstory of 30 Volunteers in 3 days is, it makes me emotional to think about, but as we all know, Iris had to close its physical doors at Willow Nickel, where it's been for the last 20 years because of federal funding cuts. And so Iris came last Monday to the East Rock Community Management Team meeting to give a presentation really about the question, how can the community support Iris in this moment in time? And a few different ideas came up, but one was about volunteers. Was that, Iris has an incredibly tireless staff that's working so hard to support newcomers to come here and settle here in Connecticut. And volunteers can play a massive role to be able to support that staff. And, in my mind, I thought, well, that's a problem we can solve. We can address that. So called Elena, who's the fantastic chair of the East Rock CMT, after the meeting, we came up with the idea of this okay, let's see if we can recruit 30 volunteers, a surge of community support in a few days. Reached out to Maggie, Katie, and the team, and then we launched it. We launched it this morning.
And so, did you find 30 volunteers?
I'm excited to share that as of 10:35, we reached 30.
Oh, yeah, on your way over. Okay. And what are these people going to do over 3 days? What did Iris need?
Yeah, a couple things. So one, I do think we should have changed the name from 30 Volunteers in 3 days to 30 Volunteers in 3 hours. I think we're right now at around 50 volunteers, which...
Wait, from 10:35 to noon, you got another 20?
Yeah, we got another 20.
Wow.
Yeah.
East Rock's pumped. So what are they going to do?
So they're going to do a range of things. I mean, I can let Ani speak to this too, but my sense is that Iris has a really, really thoughtful sort of back end to manage both, volunteers' interests and their capacity, depending on day, depending on hour, to what the evolving needs are. So that can range from everything from transportation to support, helping to support an individual family to go to a job interview, to helping to support in the food pantry, to helping a family navigate access to Husky. But I'll let Ani speak to that. But I think it's a real range of services because the needs are evolving.
And these people for 3 days, how much time are they making available? They're waiting a call from Anna to say, here's what we need you to do?
It's a great question. So we had them sign up on a really simple form. And then they'll go through Iris's official onboarding process. It includes filling out a form based on their interest, their availability, and then also filling out a confidentiality form to protect the client's information, as well as a brief training video. So they'll be going through those next steps in the process. And then, I'll turn it over to Ani, but then I think it becomes a matching process to match.
So is the work done only over 3 days, or is the 3 days the sign-up period?
Right, it's the sign-up period.
Because I was wondering, It's not just 3 days of work.
Absolutely not. No, it was just, we just figured it would take 3 days.
So you're hoping, we figured it'd take 3 days, but it took 3 hours.
It took a little over the 3 hours. Yep.
Because it sounds like it needs 3 hours to call 9 a.m. Though I have a feeling you start things before 9 a.m.
Yeah, that's right.
but still, I'm going to go with it because in the media business, we do a little sometimes massage reality for a good tagline. So what are these 30 people going to do, and what kind of difference are they going to make on at Iris?
Well, if you ask me now, I will say that we do need a lot of help with the move because we have been there for more than 20 years. We have a lot of things that I personally don't want to go into trash. And just because they're like furniture that are in great shape that have been donated to us, and we would like to open the doors to other organizations that will.
So this is kind of back again, organization sharing.
Yeah, that will take advantage of this moment, which is a sad moment, but also can be a good moment for others. And so yes, I will say that. And we do have lots of needs in terms of client services that we no longer can provide, like transportation. Like we have a lot of health appointments that our clients need to attend, and sometimes we don't have the capacity to take them all at the same time. So that will be something that the volunteers can do, and a lot of things. And
What are some
I'm
other
very
examples? You
grateful.
said navigating Husky, Caroline.
So
mentioned.
we also have employment services that will require not only training them to have interviews, but also to take them to job appointments. We have people that need help navigating the health system, which is not very easy to navigate in this country. But
And how many people are you helping now? How many people? What's your caseload?
That's a good question, because since we had this cut, then we were not able to serve our clients anymore. So what we are doing is trying to help in just the sensitive or more needed.
So how many? Whom are you serving now? What kind of people in
That's
what
a tricky
situation?
question. We are serving not open cases, but cases that are sensitive in legal services terms, or
All I meant is like, are there 100 families you're working with? 50 families? 200?
yeah, I don't want to say a number. You're pointing
Okay,
me to that
gotcha.
direction, but
I don't mean
I'm
not
not sure.
exact. I mean just ballpark.
Yeah, probably more than 200.
More than 200. Okay,
Yeah.
still working with.
Yeah.
And how many people? Like, how much of a budget hit did you take? Because I remember we wrote about it at one point. It seems like there were more cuts.
That's also a tricky question.
Okay.
And I don't feel that I have the number.
Okay,
right
that's
now.
okay. That's okay. But in other words, there's a lot of work that was being done by staff.
Yes.
Office is closed. You need the help with people to get them for job interviews, training. You had the soup kitchen, right? You had
Yeah.
all sorts of stuff. And now Caroline's constituents are stepping up in East Rock because they wanted to help.
Yes. So we have also, I want to mention this because this is an amazing story. We have 3 former staff members that came together to put this volunteer emergency. There's 3 letters for that, but it's like I'm calling also volunteers and organizing volunteers to do some of the work that we are not capable to do because we don't have the staff. And they are being great about getting all these people to come and join us. And they have been helping the case managers because we were having maybe 15 case managers before, and now we only have 1.
Wow.
And that person is taking care of all of these clients. So now they have the support of these volunteers force that are taking
So volunteer case managers. Wow.
yes, volunteers case
Wow.
managers.
So Caroline, what's the mood in East Rock? You obviously were responding to a feeling of your constituents. What are people feeling, and what were you tapping into here?
I think that there is a real hunger to get involved. I think there's a hunger from so many of my neighbors, including myself, to be able to be activated and be engaged in this particular moment in ways that are productive, relational, and meaningful. And so in some ways, I was surprised that we hit 30 in a little over 3 hours, but I'm also not surprised. I think this is just one of many examples of a demonstrative way that we can support our fellow neighbor. And it doesn't surprise me that that people really stepped up. And I think that's the mood.
But are people feeling they don't want to be hopeless? They want to feel like they want to actually do something rather
Yeah.
than doom scroll the way I do every 10 minutes about what
Yeah.
the latest headline is? Yeah.
I think people want to do something, and they want to do things with people that they see, people that they know,
Instead
people
of
that
just
they care
like being
about.
online.
That's right. And people that they have stake in.
And so what other kind of stuff are people doing besides this?
It's a good question. So a couple things. One, a lot of community cleanups. So one thing that you know about is that we launched on the Fairhaven side of the ward the Fairhaven, Clean Haven, Great Haven campaign. And it's all about anti-littering and really ultimately about community pride, because I think the smallest unit of civic engagement is picking up a piece of trash. And I think that's a way that you can see in these small ways, ways to build pride among a group of neighbors on a street, an entire neighborhood, an entire city.
And how would people get involved with either your 30 and many more than 30 campaign or other campaigns in Fairhaven?
They can reach out to me directly, my email, my phone, and then I'll send you the volunteer link sign up that they can sign up right away. And then for the cleanup, just reach out to your alder to host a cleanup. Earth Day is coming up that we're going to be doing in coordination with the city of New Haven, and so
you're working on Bike Month, which is what, May?
Bike Month is May. Yeah, Bike Month is a month-long celebration of biking that happens in May. That's happened since 2015. It's the 10th year of Bike Month.
Wow.
And so individuals can host an event. But you see, I think the theme here that I think about is that, I think New Haven can be a leader in tackling some of the issues around loneliness and isolation. I think there's a hunger for people to be engaged. I think there's so much infrastructure we can build. These three are building it in the city right now for individuals to take that kernel of interest and excitement to be involved and be able to see that activated on their sidewalk, on their street, or in City Hall.
All right, you listen to WNHH FM's Dateline New Haven and the way people are getting involved, getting out, and working together deals. So we were talking about Community Soup Kitchen with Winston Sutherland and Greg DePetris about the new project you have with Iris is part of a larger project that you're calling Closing the Meal Gap. So Winston, what is that? And how much you said you're working 11 neighborhoods in this?
Well, we're getting to 11 neighborhoods.
So what is Closing the Meal Gap?
Well, there's a percentage. What we did was look at the per neighborhood. First, we looked at the main food deserts in New Haven, the ones that's lacking the most resources, and then we looked at the poverty rate and how much the people that's not eating and things like that. And we focused on the main ones that needed the most help. So neighborhood by neighborhood, we're trying to open a satellite, to take a percentage of that. Of that, what's the word I'm looking for?
The need.
Yeah.
The need, take some of that need away.
So if I understand it correctly, so for the 47 years, you always had the Community Soup Kitchen at the Broadway Church, 84 Christ Church, correct?
Right.
That was the main place. Plus, in the pandemic, you got real creative with getting people meals in other ways to take home. And if I'm not mistaken, this is new that you're now branching up to 11 neighborhoods eventually, where you will have satellite offerings where you can get meals closer to home. And this is the second one where you're combining with Iris in Hamilton Street.
This will probably be I want to say maybe the fourth, actually.
Oh, you have two others up.
Because we have at 5 Hazel Street in New Hallville, and we have 33 Lamberton, and
in the Hill.
Yeah, and the 180 Center, off Grand. They have a little thing going on over there.
And do you partner in each place? Is that the Believe in Me people in Hazel Street, or whom are you working with in New Hallville?
Okay. Who I'm working with in New Hallville is an old partner of mine that, we used to feed the people out there, just, out our pocket, ourselves and stuff like that.
Who is that?
Yancey Horton.
Yep.
He's the site manager at, AKA Born. He's the site manager at 5 Hazel Street. So before we hired him, we've always, before I got hired, at CSK, I was a volunteer already, for years. And, all right, you didn't ask me this, but I just want to make it clear that we're a volunteer-based, organization. Everybody from our first executive director, David O'Sullivan, he started off as a volunteer, became a, coordinator, and then he became the executive director. Everyone is homegrown from the inside, So people that was already doing the work, that's who we focus on.
So this thing. Tell me about the work you did. When did you get started? Are you from New Haven originally?
I'm not originally from New Haven. I came to New Haven in 2009. I'm from New York City originally. I relocated out here, and I just ended up. You always end up linking up with people that's like-minded. Kind of just moving around.
And were you living in New Hallville?
No, I was living at the time on Dixwell.
So close enough. You linked up with Yancey,
right? So we was doing everything at first, at his house, in his yard,
Mm-hmm.
And how it started was we was just hanging out one day, on his stoop or whatever, and then we know early in the morning, and we noticed, kids walking by. They just had that look, and people's always knocking on his door, to borrow food or something like that. So we decided, okay, you know what? Why don't we just start something for them, like we started doing like a pancake breakfast, and we also wanted to teach the kids like arts and crafts and do stuff like that to get them out the streets and things like that. So we was teaching them sewing, how to hand sew and then use a machine, making jewelry, stuff like that. Like I used to make, beaded jewelry and wrap crystals and all that stuff like that. So we would open up like little workshops to teach grab the kids, teach them stuff, feed them pancakes. CSK got wind of what we was doing. Then they started sending me, big bags of pancake mix and stuff like that, donating syrup, stuff like that. And so, it was killing us, but we was doing it, like that. And thankfully, at some point, CSK, stepped in.
That's
and we
Community
did
Soup
more.
Kitchen.
Yeah, Community Soup Kitchen. The chairman, Burton Alter, before Greg took over, seen what I was doing, and took an interest. And me and him used to always talk about like just expanding CSK to more than just being, that, right there downtown. That, like if we had, it would be easier to reach people if we had a presence here, presence there, things like that. So we, that's how it kind of grew like that. And Greg, I met Greg. He was a volunteer too. He was he brought the soccer team in, honor. And these are like-minded. This is what I mean by like-minded people. Like we just clicked up. You know what I'm saying? And when he got the opportunity to, when the last chairman retired and he got the opportunity, he was right on it. Like okay, now what? Now what can we do? What's the numbers like?
And then you joined the staff at one point. Yeah. And when did you become director? Because last I saw you down as associate director. Right.
Okay. Well, I came in, like we had an interim director who hired me to be the kitchen manager, like to really manage, the affairs.
That's a special place. Yeah. That kitchen, and the people come every day. It really is. It's a lot of heart. Yeah.
And then I kind of just moved up from there. From volunteer.
And I see you got a Mets hat. So did you come from Queens? Or you just for the underdog? And you're for the underdog.
Both. Both. I mean, I like the Yankees too, but I don't never let no Mets fans hear me say, you know what I'm saying? But yeah.
We'll keep that just in the room.
All right.
And then Anna, how did you get involved with Iris? What was your story? How long have you been here?
So I came as a student to the country, and I was doing my master, and it came as an opportunity for me to be doing my internship there. I was reading a lot of opportunities, and none of them will be at that point something that it will get me like very excited about. But then I felt in love with the mission. And I started as as an intern before COVID. Then COVID hit. My last day was March 12th. And then I came back as to be part of the team more than 3 years ago. So yes.
And are you connected to people who are tied up with what's happening with Venezuelans being sent to El Salvador and the horrors of that prison they're getting sent to, the largest in the world?
It's
Tell me about that. Who's being sent and how does it affect the people you know?
Well, I have to tell you this. In order for me to be able to function, I do have to not think of everything because it's too hard.
Well, Venezuelans are being pulled off the street without any evidence that they belong to a gang, without any hearing, are being sent to one of the world's cruelest prisons and being warehoused there. And there was a story today about someone who was accidentally sent. They was locked in there. Does that include people who are here without documentation and documentation? What are you finding?
I don't have the data around that, but at this point, I'm guessing that they are just doing whatever they feel that they want to do. So it's very sad and it's unfair. And I have been reading the news about people finding out that they have relatives in that prison, in this Bukele, which is not a nice person. And
what got me is our director of Homeland Security poses in front of people being warehoused through the window. I mean, for Jewish people, that was the shocker because it was an exact similar picture to the people being warehoused in concentration camps. I mean, the way they're piled up there with the bodies and the shaved heads, it was just miserable.
It's very sad. It's to me, it's unreal that we're living this moment.
Have people been people whom Iris works with? Have you had people arrested and deported
No.
since the crackdown began?
No.
Really?
No.
Huh. But people are nervous.
Yes. And sometimes they don't even want to leave their house. And that is one of the reasons why we think we have a lot of people coming to the food pantry, because they're not able to go to work. So they just jump in, they get the food,
Wow.
and then they leave.
And Greg, how did you start getting involved with, like, what do you do for a living?
Well, I came from the world of finance and moved to Connecticut in 2000. We've got 4 kids and an active family in Connecticut, and we had always looked for ways to engage. I met David O'Sullivan briefly right before COVID, and we were supporting Community Soup Kitchen with food donations and things where we could. And then a good friend who was also a board member at the time, we talked about the board, and I joined the board, and then 18 months later, the chair's term was up, and I took over as chair. We have started as volunteers, and so the family, and then also Ani and I have got kids the same age who played on the same soccer team, and the kids came from the time they were 9 or 10 years old, probably for 4 or 5 years as a team to volunteer their time. And
I love this idea. I'm going to think too for me that people these organizations really thrive on people who start at the level of volunteers, show the commitment, have an interest to be drawn there, and then find an opportunity to have it become their day job.
Yeah, I can talk for hours about the things that make CSK special, but at the top of the list is, Winston mentioned it. Every person who works for us at some point came as a guest who stayed to volunteer, and then that volunteer commitment that they made turned them into a candidate for part-time work and ultimately full-time work. And some of those, Winston's the prime example, to go from all the way from volunteer to executive director. So everybody who works for us came, through that channel. And what that means is that our entire staff has got the same kind of work ethic and commitment, and their hearts are the same size. They're doing the work that they do because they care.
And then Caroline, you're in your first term as an alder, and you're working so hard. You're doing so much good work. How has this experience affected your view of what it means to be an alder? We have 30 in New Haven. They're the closest elected officials to human beings. They're the one that has the smallest group of human beings represented who you work for. How does the community organizing you're doing in efforts like these and others and the cleanup fit into what you think an alder is in the role of a local elected official?
I really appreciate that question. I mean, I really like talking to young people a lot about what it means to be an alder, and I often describe the job description as sort of 3 main parts. And one of those parts, I think, in addition to advocating for your neighbors, advocating on citywide issues, is providing the infrastructure and providing the information for neighbors to advocate for themselves. And I
It's kind of how we see news media.
great point. I think that's a great.
We
point.
kind of have similar missions there.
Yeah, I don't know if everyone would agree with me, but that feels really true to my role.
Well, elected officials have become important media outlets because there's such a low barrier entry, so low cost to become.
Yeah.
A lot of people find out from the recordings that come from the mayor's office or the social media posts or email blasts from alders and the mayor. A lot of really good info.
100%, and I think that it also, something that feels important to me is if I'm really accessible, if people know what an alder is, they know how to reach me. How am I contributing, at least in some small way, to building trust in government, building trust that government can be effective, but government solves problems for you, government is accessible, government listens to you. And I think that at scale, decentralized is really powerful and is something that we really need.
All right. Well, I really love the work you're all doing. And I got to tell you, when people like you guys come in here, I'm feeling so much better. Not deluded about the moment we're in, but it's kind of beautiful when a community comes together, decides to not just give up. You know what I mean? So round robin, before we say goodbye, where people find out more information so they can get involved?
For Community Soup Kitchen, you can go to csknewhaven.org, and all of our information is there.
Iris, same thing, iris.org?
Yes.
And then Caroline, you said where are the different places you? What's the best one?
I think people just email me at ward9@newhavenct.gov, or you can sign up for my newsletter at carolinetombysmith.com.
That is the best newsletter. Okay, Caroline Tammy, I read it religiously and watch the videos. Well, thanks for joining us, everybody.
Thanks for having
Winston
us.
Sutherland, Greg DePetris, Anna Carnes, and Caroline Tanby Smith. Thanks, Doreen, for doing a great job behind the controls and blasting this out all through the multiverse. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It Would Feel to Be Free from the group CD A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.
I kept looking at that.
Yeah, we're stuck in time.
It's tough.